Yeah. Like try to guess based on their sleeves, right? I've been
These guys
paying
look like
attention.
cool dudes, probably not playing fire decks like all those bullies out there.
Watch as they're both fire, both fire decks. Oh yeah. But yeah, here
Yeah,
we
it looks
are.
like we're just rolling off. See who goes first. Oh, yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
getting here right at the cusp of round four here, and well, at least one of them is fire. We got one fire player. All right, let's
Oh,
see.
you know what I see though, Kel? I see some tamer cards over there.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, very very interesting.
I see
Um,
some Embertail squirrels and an Ember song maybe.
I have it on good authority that this might actually be a Tamer Sylvie mirror match, which
Nice.
is I'll be completely honest here. I might divert a lot of the expertise to you this time because I don't have a ton of expertise playing Sylvie, though I do really like Fire Sylvie. I will say that for sure.
Well, thankfully, I don't personally, but one of the people that is on the podcast is a big Sylvie fan. Shout out to Trent. He plays a lot of Sylvie, and this sort of fire Sylvie deck I think is the most competitive of the Sylvie decks in Dawn of Ashes. It is sort of like an aggro package with cards like these Embertail Squirrels that you see on the board here. That sort of finish in the Ember Song Erupting Rhapsody sort of combo kill that we're familiar with some of the mage decks.
Yeah, what's really interesting here is that we do have two Sylvies, neither of which is wind, and I would have guessed going into this that if we saw Sylvie, they would either be wind or maybe fire, but I figured wind would be the more popular choice. So once again, we have a really, really interesting matchup here.
Yeah,
Little
Water
little
Sylvie is a
dewdrop
wild
hairs.
one. Happy to yeah, happy to see a Dewdrop Hairs on the board. Um,
Yeah.
Actually lines up
Uh,
really well against these 2/1 Embertail Squirrels because Dewdrop Hairs is a 1/3. So just probably, like a match made in heaven for this Dewdrop Hairs right now.
yeah, for sure. I know there's some other like very, very strong stuff that Fire Sylvie can rock. There's the I forget the name. It's the wolf. There's the wolf that does a lot of work. It's like the flaming
Yeah,
wolf.
it's a
Hold on.
Blazing Direwolf is
Yes.
he's a big dude. He's a 4/4, and when he attacks, he deals 2 damage to any target. So he can either take out an ally or just make him effectually attacking for 6.
Yeah.
So yeah, that card does really do some work. He is unfortunately Pride 5, but a lot of these Sylvie decks will opt to play Allen as their level 2, as he makes it a little bit easier to hit those high Pride numbers because he gives you an extra level buff. So maybe we'll see that here. I'm not sure.
Interesting. Yeah, it would be very interesting to see an Allen on board here.
Yeah, looks like we're just coming across with a energetic beast bonder and an Embertail squirrel coming across for 4 damage. The aggro package in these tamer decks is nothing to sneeze at. So again, the water player, it's on them to see if they can sort of stem the bleeding and make it into a little bit of the late game. But these big blue slimes that you see one in the banished zone for this water sylvie here are a great like brick wall against all of the aggro decks. So if they
Yeah.
can manage to get one of those on board and stick with it, that'll be pretty good.
The blue slimes are notoriously hard to kill. Um, you basically more or less have to kind of kill them in one shot, otherwise they just keep growing.
Mhm.
Um, so we'll see how much of you know, importance they become in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm super thrilled to see just these, no, not particularly meta decks. Yeah, and we're in round 3, and you said this, or sorry, round 4. And you said this a couple rounds ago that obviously, I assume we're getting the top table matches, or at least close to it. These players are assumingly doing very well with these decks, which is great.
Yeah, that I think is probably one of the key things here is that here we are in round four with two Sylvie decks, right?
Right.
I know all the Sylvie fans out there are probably bummed that they're matched against each other, which means one of these obviously is going to end up losing.
Mm.
Um, but that also means one of them will be going onward, which is also very, very cool. We have another Tide Diviner in the field, by the way. Tide Diviner staple of any water deck, right? And surprisingly, we've seen a lot of water decks today, which
Right.
is
Yeah.
great.
It's a treat
Um,
for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I really do genuinely think that water has some of the best allies in the game, and we're definitely seeing them on display here.
Yeah, looks like we're going up to level 1 here. I'm not sure where's this fire player's champion?
Oh, it's above their material deck. They have it
Oh,
kind
I
of off
see
to
it.
the side.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think that's a Allen.
Yeah, that does look like level 2 Allen. So they are opting for Allen, and it looks like, yeah, when Allen comes into play, he has an effect that says you glimpse 3, and then you reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a melody or a harmony, you put that card into your hand. So it gives you some like pseudo card advantage. You get to draw a card if you find one of those melodies or harmonies on top of your deck. And then he says if you control 2 or more animal and beast allies, you get +2 level. So he shoots you right up to 4, and then with something like, say, this energetic beast bonder on the field, you can meet that Pride 5 requirement to start getting in with stuff like Blazing Direwolf.
Yeah. Do you think we're gonna see an Erupting Rhapsody coming out of Fire Sylvie today? That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think that is usually the plan. Erupting Rhapsody has found a home in a lot of the mage decks because it doesn't have any class bonus, even though it is sort of tilted towards that tamer playstyle since it has harmonize. But something that's like pretty deceptive that people don't realize is that the common card to turn on Erupting Rhapsody is Ember Song. We actually see one in the hand of our tamer player here. Is actually an absurd card if you get the Tamer class bonus. It deals 2 damage to an ally, and then it gives one of your allies +2 power, which is so huge.
Yep. And we've already talked about it today. Like, a 4/4 in this game is quite large. So just
Right.
any sort of buff is kind of a big deal in Grand Archive. And yeah, I really feel like this matchup, in particular, more so than the other ones that we've seen today, is going to be a match of board states, right? That's what
Right.
Tamer wants to do. He wants to have a board state, and it's going to be a good indication of kind of where the players are at based on what their boards are looking like. Definitely more so than any other match we've had so far. And is
He
this
is
my girl, my paladin?
Yeah, the first appearance. We've talked about her so much today. This is the first appearance of Frostborn Paladin, a gigantic 3 mana 3/4 that when it comes into play, you can banish a card with floating memory from your graveyard, and if you do, it gets a +1 buff counter, which is just massive. Looks like they're going to send it towards Alan's head though. Just coming in for 3. Not going to worry about dealing with that Beast Bonder on the board, which is a little scary to me.
Yeah, I mean, like, I understand the attack here. I think the mindset here is that, well, my opponent is Alan currently, and
Sure.
Alan can't level up, right? Like this is the health that he's going to have to deal with for the rest of the game, right? Because
Right.
the level 3 Sylvies all have Sylvie lineage, so he can't go from Alan into another Sylvie.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah, this is your
perhaps,
health pool. This is what you're working with. I'm gonna see if I can, whittle it down.
yeah. Um, so yeah, not getting rid of the Beast Bonder is interesting. Beast Bonder does give your champion +1 level as long as you have another beast or animal ally, and it's a 2/2. It's not nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it was a bit of a slow turn for our fire player. They just got back in with that beast bonder and then passed it back over. So it turns out it wasn't that big of a deal leaving that beast bonder in play. I think that the fire player is like pretty low on hand size. I think they have like only 2 or 3 cards in hand right now.
Yeah, and here we see, is that another Tide Diviner? Oh
It
no no
looks
no!
like
It's
yeah, a bestial frenzy on this gray wolf.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oddly enough, the art silhouette looks similar, but
right.
no, yeah, that wolf is frenzied for sure, and does take out the Beast Bonder.
Yeah, and like you said, the board state is so important here, and the water sylvie is really locking it down, making it difficult for this fire Allen player to come over the top. I think they are obviously playing Ember Song. We've seen that one already, so I think that they're really looking to sort of steal this game out of nowhere with a big erupting Rhapsody if they can.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the game plan here. And then on the water side, game plan is to just play some dudes, try to out tempo your opponent. Here we have just an immediate cracking of the Orb of Regret, letting the fire player essentially mulligan 3 cards, right?
Right. Regret having those bad cards in your hand.
Right. Yeah, I'm so bummed that I drew these bad cards.
So yeah, I think when we looked over at their hand, we did see an increasing danger, which they probably don't want to cast here, giving card advantage to your opponent. Probably pretty bad when they're already ahead on board. And we did see an erupting Rhapsody as well. We're not sure what they shuffled back, but I would assume at least that increasing danger went back in, and maybe they kept the Rhapsody. They're looking for an Ember Song here.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment. But if you're the water player here, you got to be happy when you see this from your opponent, right? When you see them drop the Orb of Regret, X turns into the game, you're like, all right, I think my odds are a little bit in my favor, right?
Right. Yeah, it's anytime you see an Orb of Regret, it feels like your opponent's hitting the panic button, right? So obviously,
Yeah.
your opponent hitting the panic button is good for you.
Currently, let's see. We have Silvie. She plays. I do believe. Is this the amulet that if one of your allies dies, you get to draw a card on your opponent's turn?
Yeah, it's a life essence amulet, and they're just, I guess like securing the board state, right? They're like, I'm already winning on board. I'm gonna get this amulet that lets me draw cards if you can deal with any of my threats, and I'm just gonna keep trying to push that advantage.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense, especially since the opponent is heavily incentivized to kill your units.
Right.
I'm not entirely sure what level our Sylvie is, but she does have some Beast Bonder equipment out there, right? She's got like the ears and is
And the
that
boots,
the
I think?
boots? Yeah. So she does have enough pride to, effectively use her wolf at least.
Yeah, something worth noting that hopefully our players are aware of, but Spawn boots, the ones that our Water Sylvie player has in play, they you can crack them and they give your champion Spell Shroud, but very
Yes.
notably the way that Erupting Rhapsody works is it does not target, it chooses on resolution, so Spell Shroud does not actually save you, so hopefully Sylvie's not looking to, get them by cracking her boots there, because that will not work out in her favor.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that is very good to know. I actually did not know that. So very, very important to note.
We
One
gotta hope
thing,
that Sylvie does, because if she doesn't, it'll be pretty scary.
yeah, I was gonna say one thing to note with well, actually, so Erupting Rhapsody also is a skill, and Spell Shroud. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Spell Shroud only prevents targeting from spells, right?
Yeah, that is doubly true. Yeah, yeah. So super doesn't work.
Yeah, I wanted to just check Erupting
Right.
Rhapsody real quick, but yeah. So Grand Archive, the way Spell Shroud works is kind of different than other games, right? In Magic the Gathering, for example, you have like Hexproof, you have Shroud in that game, and it just means it can't be targeted by spells or effects. Um, in Grand Archive, there's a difference between a skill card and a spell card, and it matters. So Spell Shroud only prevents spells, not skills. Um,
So it looks like we're going to cast a Song of Nurturing here that does get the Tamer class bonus. So it's going
yeah,
to be +1 power and +2 health. So he's sort of using it as an anthem, coming across for a lot of damage here. Yeah, looks like that's
it's
going to be
enough
enough
to
to
win.
close it out. Just relentless pressure of the, this Dewdrop here since turn 1 has just been getting in every turn. We found that Paladin pretty early too.
All these water aggro decks are causing some upsets here, man.
Yeah, it's
Like,
really making us, rethink, how we feel about this format. I think Water's turning out to be way more aggressive than we assumed that it would be.
yeah, I think it's just because they can get tempo and then like keep the tempo,
Right.
and they just keep a steady stream of allies. And I've already mentioned this. I think Water has some of the best allies currently in the game, and they can just keep it up. Right? You have stuff like your Tie Diviner who gives you card advantage. You have stuff like your Paladin, which also gives you card advantage, and then also like kills your opponent. Um, yeah, I'm a big fan of all these Water decks for sure.
Yeah, I think you said it in round 2 about the Water Lorraine player that it seems to like an archetypal tempo deck, and I think that is true of a lot of these. Like you said, they try to take the board presence and then just use the water cards that are all generally pretty defensive just to keep their lead and just try to secure that into the mid game.
Yeah, I think one of the big things with that is that even though a lot of the water allies, other than like the Paladin, are like 1/1s, 1/3s, 1/2s. That size in Grand Archive is like pretty true across like all of the elements, right?
Hmm.
Um, you don't get too much bigger than that. And when you staple on like these really, really great card advantage effects, the water allies just can put in a lot of work. Speaking of little
Yeah.
guys, little
Yeah, speaking
little
of little
squirrel.
guys, the woodland squirrel, the 0 mana 1/1, the most powerful card in the game.
Well, it's efficient. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Efficient little squirrel. Look how cute they are. They're adorable.
They're adorable. Have you seen the supporter pack like alternate art one? It's just like one of my favorite arts in this game.
Yes, yes, I have. Yeah, I'm very much looking to pick up some of those when I go to the Ascent Houston later this year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the little squirrels putting in some putting in some early pressure. One thing to note also about Grand Archive is if you are the first turn player, you can't actually attack your opponent because they don't have anything to attack, right?
Right.
They don't have a spirit on the field, so that little squirrel there, while it is out there, couldn't do anything. It just kind of like is sitting around and then had to just say hi as the spirit of water manifests.
Yeah, it's a bit of a liability, right, to put these creatures on the board because if they don't get to attack and they're not super efficient at trading like this woodland squirrels, you either have to protect them or they're just gonna unceremoniously get thrown into the meat grinder.
Yep, and we we have some grinded squirrels. I
Yeah.
had to very much think about the wording of that sentence,
Yeah,
but
it's a vivid picture that I'm painting here.
yeah, yeah. So
So it
yeah,
looks like we're just gonna grab bee spawn ears, not even level up. Just get that incidental level if we happen to play an animal here. The important thing about Sylvie is she has like a really powerful level 1 trigger to get a buff counter on your first animal or beast. So if you're not going to be able to get use out of that, usually you'll just wait until you can.
yeah. I mean, having the despawned ears as a backup too, if you either can't or don't want to play your level one, is like
Hmm.
something to be said. Sometimes if you for whatever reason don't run anything out and you don't have any cards in your memory, it can be rough not leveling your
Yeah.
champion turn one. So still having a play is really good.
Yeah, Tamer has some of the best for sure. Beast Spawneers is like probably the other than like of course GCR is one of the best like 0 mana plays to do when you're having an off turn.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Hey, look, some more dewdrop hairs. It's like death by like cute woodland animals, right?
Right.
It's like it's just like almost like a you know I don't want to say Pokemon battle, but kind of, right? You have your
Sure.
little
Yeah, a little
squirrels
bit.
fighting the rabbits.
And these rabbits are now a 2/4 off of that Sylvie trigger, which is just a really solid stat line. So
Yeah, I mean, 2/4 rabbits are going to put in a lot of work. Um, and then here we have a level up for no value. This is level up, but I mean, you do at some point do just need to run out your champion just so you can actually have access to all of your class bonus effects.
right, and also the health bump is nice, especially when you're under pressure
Right.
here. So hopefully they have something like a Grey Wolf and they can get use out of that counter. But their hand looks like it's full of a lot of removal spells. Like I see a couple of spontaneous combustions over there. It looks like they actually kept in the increasing dangers. So there's one of those over there as well. So they
Yeah.
looks like their hands are tied a little bit here.
Is he just gonna pass the turn back? It looks like they're just passing the turn back. If once again, if I'm the water player here, I'm pretty happy, right? Like it's like, hey, my board is still here. Now I can just kind of do whatever I want. Hey, look, I have some of my own cosplay here to
Right.
give myself plus one level
Yeah.
and just go with it. Um,
Yeah, it's strange, this role reversal. We see these water decks being on the front foot and just like beating down, but it's usually the role of the fire deck. So
Here we have that wolf coming out. Wolf is gonna be able to attack because the beast bondiers gonna give that a plus one level. So the pride value is met.
yeah, and it
So we
got
also have
followed up
another
by a
beast
young
bonder.
beast bonder too. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
making this wolf huge. It's a 4/4 now.
yeah, that is a big wolf for sure. Um, yeah, I mean a 2-drop 4/4 in Grand Archive once again quite big. I really so we have a removal spell. Okay, that makes sense, right? Um, you're gonna have to blow that wolf up, otherwise it's just gonna kill you.
Right. Yeah. Got met with that spontaneous combustion that deals 4 damage to an attacking ally. We saw their opponent had to read it. That one doesn't see a whole lot of play.
Right? Yeah. Um, looks like we have just some banishing into Alan here. Do we know if Water Sylvie is into Alan? Did we see a level 2 last game? I don't recall.
No, she was just like so aggressive that she didn't even have to go to level 2. So we don't know. I would assume that it's probably Silvie, but all bets are off here. We're in uncharted waters, pun intended, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, definitely uncharted waters for sure. That's the name of this tournament so far. Uncharted
Right.
waters, right? Canadian regionals for Grand Archive, uncharted waters.
Yeah, there you go. You can send the check to Kel for that one.
Yep, I would like all intellectual property rights for that name. That name. Thank you, please and thank you. Even though you're the one who said it.
Yeah.
So we have another Beast Bonder just coming on in. Once again, we have the life essence amulet. You know what? If it worked the first game, might as well run it out the second game. Opponent is very heavily incentivized to remove your threats, so being able to draw off of them is great, and this is the perfect time to do that.
Yeah, I believe the way that card is worded is it says if it's not your turn and
Yes.
an ally dies. So at least the fire player has if they have another spontaneous combustion or something, they don't give value on that life essence amulet. But I think that's probably the least of their worries right now. It's quite a big board they're facing.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have another wolf coming in. We still have the 2 for dewdrop hairs. I've almost forgotten what the card in the glare is, but I know it's another dude. Is it the oh, I forgot what it was.
I'm not sure. It might be the Beast Bonder. I think it's the blue Beast Bonder.
I think it is the blue Beast Bonder.
Deep water Beast Bonder. I don't know.
All of the beasts are being bonded today.
Yeah. My
But
God, this is really rough.
Yeah, like 4 units on board. He has sort of protection, right? He's that card draw when one of his allies dies. So yeah, if you're the fire player here, going into this, I was like, yo, I know fire Sylvie can be like pretty strong. It has all the like this crazy burst combo potential. I really was kind of underestimating the water Sylvie, but it's
Right.
it's putting in work.
Yeah, we're like racing to the fastest match that we've had all day with these two
Yeah.
Silvie players.
I actually thought it would be like the slowest match. I'll be honest, because I'm
Right.
like, okay, we have 2 Sylvies. They're these board, intensive, grindy type champions, but no, this is, all of the water. It's like a rushing river, just
Right.
smashing into the opponents.
Yeah, forget everything you thought you knew about Grand Archive is what I've learned today.
Yeah. Well, that's great to see with these large tournaments, right? And the
Right.
more tournaments we see, the more of this kind of stuff we'll end up seeing, and we'll get a better picture of what like the true meta of Grand Archive is, as we get a much larger sample size than the couple like online tournaments that we've had so far.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in an event like this that had 118 players to start, so not too bad at all.
Yeah, absolutely. A massive event, and kudos to these Silvie players who seem to be doing well in such a large event with these like underdog decks.
I'd like to just comment the 2 players look like they're having an absolute blast. You see them like
Right.
laughing, going back and forth as Water Sylvie plays his second piece of cosplay. He's got his
Right.
boots there. I can only imagine that's what that's what he's alluding to as he's playing it, right?
For sure, yeah. You got to make sure that you get all 3, so you assemble, Tron of your
Yeah.
animal cosplay.
Then you can go enter the competition and
Right.
win. Hey, hopefully like the game, right? Hopefully it
Yeah.
translates into a victory in the game.
Such great top-down design, It's just really the flavoring's true.
It's one of those situations where another dewdrop hairs, run it out. It's one of those things where a lot of people ask, I'm like, wait a minute, are the ears and tail on Sylvie real, or is she just wearing cosplay like canonically? And I'm like, I don't know for sure, but I think they're real. I think the ears are attached to her head, and
We'll never know.
I
It's
think
one of
those
the
are
great
just like
mysteries of life.
yeah, maybe the Grand Archive lore will clear that up, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, just aggression, pure aggression, just jamming in with all the dudes. I can't quite see the life totals there. I want to say 16. I think the Allen player is at 16 health
Yeah.
currently.
That's rough out of 22, I believe, on Allen. It's just like, it's an
Yeah,
embarrassment of riches for this Water Sylvie player. They just have, so many cards and so many creatures on board. I don't know. It's going to be really tough. The nice thing about these fire decks is, as sort of a panic button, if you can assemble it, you can use Erupting Rhapsody not to kill your opponent, but just as like a very efficient board sweeper.
yes.
And I think that's probably what the out is that they're playing to here, because it's just such a large board to deal with.
Yeah, I think that's really their only out, right? Because they're not running like Flame Sweep or anything
Right.
like that. So Erupting Rhapsody is really the only way. You can get some nice like 2-for-1s here if they get the Dire Wolf,
Hmm.
but barring that, you're really gonna try to clear up your opponent's board as much as you can, like stem the bleeding, and starting your turn with 4 um, allies is a little rough.
Yeah, I
So it looks
think
like
on the board we're one short of lethal, so it's gonna be tough.
level 2 Silvie. Here we go. He played that. He got rid of a floating memory card and then also banished a card from his memory.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's yep. I think the writing's on the wall here.
Yeah.
He's just got all the dudes. He's just gonna wolf them out.
Yeah, it looks
Kill.
like he was probably looking for it too. There was a bit of a celebration when they found that Grey Wolf, that maybe he didn't have the kill in hand, but found enough damage through that Grey Wolf.
Well, he did. He is cleaning up the board a little bit. Is it enough? It's got to be enough.
Oh, yeah, I think it's exactly, yeah.
Because like that bunnies is gonna do too. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
He was just taking the safe play there, cleaning up the board before
Yeah.
going in for the kill. He's got 2 more wolves in hand. He's just got all the wolves. He's just got all of them.
Man, Kel, did you know that this is a best out of 3 game?
Um,
We'll get there eventually, I guess.
yeah, and water, dude. Like
Yeah.
all the water has been so impressive.
Oh my
Um,
God.
that was the fastest round we've had so far. Water Sylvie versus Fire Sylvie, and then Water's the one that wins in the fastest round. Who would have guessed that? Like going into the tournament, everyone was like, Fire Lorraine, Wind Lorraine, combo, and then here we have like these water decks just crunching in. It's glorious, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was gonna be happy if we maybe round 1 we'll get to see a Sylvie player who hasn't been, dream crushed out of the tournament yet. But like here we are in round 4, we get 2 Sylvie players, and the Water Sylvie of all things being the aggressor here and taking a pretty decisive 2-0.